Capital Radio, the end of the millennium. It was a super buzzy time coming into the floor of a radio station with this 24/7 energy. There's nothing quite like it. Quite like it. It's quite magical. Martina King just kind of just let me get on with it. And I'm walking into meetings where we're organising a big event for 100,000 people in Hyde Park with the Prince's Trust, and meeting with senior bods at Sky News, having frankly no idea what's going on. Working with a really good agency, actually, I have to say, there's something magical when you've got good agency partners. I'd worked a little bit with Abbotsmead Vickers back at Bistow, a little bit on the fringe with some of the innovation work, helping them with the communications, and they were our agency at Capital. And gosh, I think I put them through the mill a little bit, but they produced stonking work. First time I got kind of Oscars and stuff. Not that I've been particularly excited about awards. I think the most interesting thing is one of my constant marketing jokes. It's actually not that funny, which is, what's the definition of marketing? And people pull out their textbooks and say Kotler. They come with very sensible answers. And I'd learned this by about the fourth company, which is the definition of marketing is whatever the CEO thinks it means. Because I'd realised that in a Unilever, it was everything. In RHM, it kind of, carried some weight, but wasn't Unilever. And in media, we were the team that made the ads, might do the promotions. I think eventually I got given PR, but even that was separate. So the first observation is the chasm between content people and salespeople. And in fact, what struck me was that Capital Radio Advertising was a limited company. It was a separate entity in a legal sense. And then there was the rest of the business. And then, of course, there's this healthy tension between church and state, between content creators and salespeople. Sales was massive. I'd never seen anything like it. Layers and floors of promotion sales and partnership sales and sponsorship sales and regional sales and breakfast show sales and drive sales and probably a few other types of sales. Oh yes, Sonic Identity. Gosh, that's a whole new thing. Started in the 90s. Gosh, a few people in Australia were part of that actually, Ralph. My one thing, the thing actually I'm most proud of, we relaunched the stations, we had maximum reach and share. It was two. One was launching Capital's first digital radio station in 2001, live digital radio, adult contemporary, aimed at 25-44 women. Wasn't the greatest piece of work, but it was the first digital radio station. The greatest piece of work was a piece of segmentation research with a company called Human Capital. Incredible founding team, had done some segmentation with the BBC in the 90s. And what that did was it brought together content, marketing and sales. That was its power, was creating a single picture of the listener. Big kudos to Clive Jenkins, who was a very progressive head of programming back then. Really tough, because Richard Park, the Uber Führer of programming, that's a whole new series of podcasts around Richard Park and his relationships with his talent. There'd be a break, and there'd be an ad break, and there'd be a call straight in, and I'd see DJs getting lambasted for the previous link. It was an interesting approach to coaching, and that's just some of the lower tier stuff. Some of the other stuff was remarkable. I got dangled a carrot with a lot more money, arguably a lot more responsibility, to another media company. And if I look back, don't be fooled by carrots. The grass is just very rarely greener. If it feels right, stick with it. I only spent a couple of years. It feels like I spent a lot longer in my heart. Capital Radio, or Global Radio as it's now called, holds such a deep and meaningful position. And I'm like, I should have stayed there. I went on to have a boss called Sally Oldham, who was actually beginning to coach me into becoming a managing director of a radio station. And I gave that up, and there, that was done. But so do not be marketeers. We just can't help it. You know, more money, bigger roles, shiny new things. Don't do it. Don't do it. Have a network, have mentors, have other people who can just be the voice of reason and really, really challenge you before you take that leap. Capital Radio and then into IPC media, the baptism of print media. There's a culture for another time.